Everyone, welcome to our second installation of the Coastal Tipoff. This is our installation series where we're here in San Diego, California, covering the beginning rounds of the NCAA tournament. So the first two rounds are going to be taking place here at Viejas Arena. So it's going to be the first of 64, then it's going to go to 32. Today was the first matchup where Arizona University, the Wildcats, they competed against the LIU Sharks. So Arizona being the 1 seed and the LIU Sharks being the 16 seed. We talked about this briefly yesterday on our first show, but today was the actual day where the game took place, and we're going to go over that briefly right now. So Arizona, they were favored. Things that we were looking at coming into the game was Arizona had a huge, and I mean monumental, it was just obvious to the eye, size advantage. We came out onto the court and our players, they just looked like they owned the space compared to the Sharks. We just, from the bat, you could already tell that if this game was going to be one where there was a lot of rebounding and a lot of for positioning where size is important to stealing the ball, that definitely came into our advantage. So I saw that and we made note of that, and that was something that came to actually happen in the game. Another thing that we seemed to take note of but then saw that actually worked out was the fans really showed up. I mean, there was a lot of Arizona faithful, alumni, students that extended their spring break that was just last week. People showed up. The Wildcats were very passionate, even though it was just the first round. That's just the first opportunity for them to cheer on their team. And this is like a time where just the camaraderie of like what the whole season has been about is it's coming into the accumulation of this moment where we have done so well, but now that's being tested in these beginning rounds of March Madness. Looking more, some other things were that yesterday we talked about it where Tommy Lloyd, this team knows their true identity. And this isn't really a team that shoots a lot of threes, maybe a team that doesn't really run the pace as quickly as other teams. But hey, it's worked for us well now. There's no point, Tommy said in the press conference, that if he hasn't taught something to this team by now, he has not done his job. And this team, they have gone this far. They've been the number one ranked team in the AP poll for 9 consecutive weeks. And you don't get that just by learning new things on the spot. You play to your advantages. And what that has been strong defense on and off the ball, great rebounding, and just our freshmen. We have so much trust in our incoming freshmen right now who are actually playing on the biggest stage possible. Now, these are players that have had careers in high school where they've played for state championships. Tommy Lloyd told them to think about this moment just like that, except that this has the word national in front of it. Tip-off today took off at 10:35, and from the get-go, something that actually shocked us was that the Long Island Sharks actually gained possession off the tip-off. And being that we had, the size advantage, that wasn't crucial, but I just found like that was shocking to me. And the Sharks, they weren't able to capitalize on that first moving drive. So it was actually a stellar first two possessions where the Wildcats were actually able to quickly capitalize, whether it was rebounding and scoring. I believe it was actually Koa Pete. He was the one that scored first, and then right off the bat, after the Sharks inbound the ball to go down up the court, Koa actually stripped the ball again and then was able to capitalize on that. So we had great defensive prowess on the court, whether it was underneath the basket or on the ball. Something that really caught my eye in the first and even continued in the second half was we shot really well from three. And but I mean I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Braden Burries. Now, this is a freshman phenom who at the beginning of the season has struggled to kind of get some momentum, kind of get some rhythm. But through these games, he's actually been able to show the nation why he was such a coveted player and why he's going to go high up in this upcoming draft. He is a great two guard who can get the rebound off the glass and he can run up the floor. You may want to challenge him to shooting a three and he'll take you up on that challenge. And more times than not, you're going to wish that you wanted him to you didn't want to give him as much space. In the press conference, Braden Burries actually talked about that the possessions, he wasn't actually looking to shoot the three. It's just that the team was kind of pressuring him to that. And when you're given that pressure on a stage like this, you have to take note of that. So I thought that was really cool for Braden Burries to continue to show off his talents in this stage of the season, especially when he probably didn't have the best um, outing in the Big 12 championships. But hey, that was in the past. The team was able to win, beat Houston, and now we're just moving one game at a time. When the substitutions came in, it was actually Del Orso and Erstode that were the players that substitute. And I was really liking this coaching decision to have a hot Braden Burries, who was shooting the three, to come in with 3-point shooting specialist Del Orso. And that combination of those two shooting focused players really paid dividends into us extending the lead in the first half. Braden Burries, like I said, he was just going off, and he didn't actually come off the court until really we grew a sizable lead in the game. Our rebounding was phenomenal in that game. Anytime we seemed to be not having the most clear shots, or we weren't putting, enough pressure on defense, we were actually able to rebound those balls. And I think that's something that Tommy Lloyd has actually very much harnessed on from the beginning of the season, which was our rebounding ability. And that has a lot to do with Mo Krivos. Mo Krivos being our 7'1" center, and he has good feet. He moves quickly up and down the court. Anytime we're on, a fast break, you don't see him at the back of the court. You see him actually running with the players, trying to capitalize on that, because every possession matters in this part of the season. Another very interesting thing that happened in this game was Ivan's first double-double since the Las Vegas competition, which, if there was a chance to have that, it's now and moving forward. Something else that also happened is that he had his career high in rebounding. He actually grew it by 3, which shows that, we have a team that can rebound well, not only with our front court, but also our back court with our guards. Anyone has to be able to get underneath the basket and protect the rim. Arizona did extremely well with not only having a huge lead in the first half, but actually growing it. It actually turned out to be 29-53 in Arizona's favor. There was a 20-minute break in between, and when the Wildcats came back, they knew that they had spent the earlier half of this game developing such a huge lead that it could kind of visibly be seen to the human audience, to the regular eye, a typical fan, that they were not coming back with that same sort of pressure and mentality that they had in growing that sizable lead. In the press conference, I asked Tommy Lloyd his thoughts and opinions on some possessions in the second half where one could argue that the team was playing with a little bit less pace. Here's what he had to say about that.
I mean, listen, I didn't tell our guys to slow it down, today at all. And, we did have it. I mean, I know the specific point of the game you're talking about. We had 2 or 3 possessions where we kind of walked the ball up the court. I mean, for me, being able to get the ball up the court with tempo and pace, doesn't mean we have to do something quick, but it helps us initiate our offense. And so, getting the ball up with the right pace, affects something 2 or 3 passes later. And, so that's something that I always think about. So we just reminded our guys to continue to run, to continue to get into our flow as quick as we could. And our guys did a good job readjusting to that later in the second half.
That had to do a lot with the crowd engagement, but many times throughout the second half, you could see players on the bench or even the coaches kind of ramping out the audience. And as that energy came back, the team was actually able to play with a little bit more pace, knowing that this was something that was brought up in the press conference when Tommy Lloyd goes back to watch footage. Hopefully they address this issue, but it seemed to pay him off really well. But like he said, playing with pace doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make success on that possession, but that possession could eventually turn into an extra pass or slinging it off to someone else or a screen set that can then set you up for a later opportunity in that play. And Arizona was able to grow such a sizable lead that there was an opportunity where players were actually being able to get subbed out on both teams, Arizona and the Sharks. One of them being a Sharks player who shot his first career basket in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and it being a three. Here's what Tommy Lloyd had to say about such an incredible moment like that.
I mean, listen, you feel good for that young man. I mean, that's an awesome moment in his life that he'll never forget. Yeah, I mean, college basketball is special, and I think in this NCAA tournament, there's a lot of amazing stories. That's what makes it great theater. And you also know, some teams advance, and we're a team on a mission. We are, but we also, have a team we played today that their season ended, and they've had a magical season, and then there's guys on that team that didn't get to play, very much. So for a kid like that to be able to put that in his back pocket and pull out the video with all his friends, down the line is going to be something really special. Glad I'm a part of it.
Some things that came to mind post game was, like I said earlier, I've been having that double-double, the first one since Vegas. Hopefully that can be an opportunity where we see more of an output on him besides scoring. Maybe he's getting more of those rebounds, or maybe he's being more of a playmaker. We do have a lot of playmakers on that team, being Jaden Browley and at times Braden Burries. Also, Koa Pete shot 15 points and 7 rebounds. Koa, what a season he's had, being from Arizona, and that he chose to come to Arizona, and that he is really just like this homegrown athlete being from Phoenix. He's continued to show the season and into the beginning rounds of March Madness that he means to win another state championship, but this one just happens to be March Madness. Also, Mo had an efficient 9 points with 7 rebounds, as well as Tobe Awaka, 11 points and 8 rebounds, almost near double doubles. I really like that two combo of having both those players on the floor, because when they're out there, whether one's choosing to be the true center, one of them's being a stretch power forward, like having them both together and being such a dominant presence really is intimidating to the opponents. Nothing's really getting past them, and if they do get past them, it's going to get swatted before it even leaves their fingertips. At one point, we led by 38 points, and that lead just seemed to grow and grow. And when it didn't, the game was over, because the game ended with 92-58 Arizona. Arizona being the team to advance next to compete this Sunday against Utah State. Utah State being the number 9 seed, they played against number 8 Villanova. That game has just happened, and Utah State were the winners. So this upcoming Sunday, it's going to be the Arizona Wildcats versus the Utah State Aggies. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a game analysis of what that's going to look like, as well as our predictions of what we expect to see from the team with what they showed us today. That's all I have for you today. Once again, this has been the starting lineup, but our specialty show called the Coastal Tipoff from San Diego, California. I'm Jacob Aries signing off. Bear down.